Welcome to our series of podcasts about how to help parents help their children achieve an education. And we have a series of experts participating in it. And today we have Ms. Patsy Feliciano, which is the interim director of the diversity office here at USF. And we will start by asking her, what are the requirements Latino students need to meet in order to gain access to the university? Patsy, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And you heard my first question.
My pleasure. It is very important to keep in mind a number of requirements, and of course we can start with classes that are required. There are a number of courses that are required by every university for admissions. They include a number of credits for math, credits for English, credits for science, both natural sciences and social sciences, and also languages. In addition to that, there are other requirements as well, and typically those additional classes should be in the same areas, in the areas of math, in the areas of English, and of science and language. That is the number one requirement. After that, the next big thing is, of course, the test course. And when we say test course, we're talking about ACT and SAT. And it is critical that students prepare for these tests. These tests are tests that can be retaken so that a student can improve on their grade or their score. And there are students who have a preference for the SAT. There are students who have a preference for the ACT. I recommend students taking both. And that is requirement number 2. This information needs to be submitted, obviously, to the university that the student is applying to. And once that information is in the hands of the admissions folks at the universities, then simply counselors are going to review the information and let the student know if the student has been admitted. One of the myths is that students have to wait until the SATs are taken and the scores are in, or the ACT is taken and the ACT is in, before they can apply. The time to apply is between October and November of the senior year of the student. It is important.
Yeah, let's repeat that.
Yeah, it is really critical. Oftentimes students wait until some of these scores come in, or until they're almost halfway done through their senior year, thinking that they need to have all those grades reported before they can actually apply. And students can apply very early in their senior year. In fact, it is important to do a lot of the research beforehand, and I think our students are getting very good at doing this in their junior year, investigating and doing research on what the universities that they want to get into are interested in, what types of students are they recruiting. Is it the university for them? So we really start there. And once students have identified those universities that they are interested in, then that process begins of sending in all of these requirements. The application is nowadays online, so students who prefer to fill out an application can potentially download a paper copy, but most of the time this is done electronically, and it's very convenient, because if you miss out an answer to a question, the electronic copy lets you know, which the paper copy does not.
Right.
So there are many advantages to this. It's a lot quicker. The turnaround is also a lot quicker. So those are the main things. Doing a little bit of research about the university, number one, and then of course once you're in the process or ready for that process, is admissions requirements, making sure that you have checked with your counselors and that you do have you've met all the courses that are required. If you have opportunities to take AP classes, if you're in an IB program, if you have taken honors courses, those are all going to also help make you a little bit more marketable, if you will, as a student, and more competitive. And it adds what it boils down to it is not only the knowledge that you've acquired, but also adding additional points to your GPA. And this is always good. And then, of course, the test course, the SAT and ACTs that we've talked about.
And if I understand you correctly, working during the last year in high school with the school council to make sure that the applications are done the correct way and the deadlines are met, is a good advice also.
Absolutely. Every individual, whether it be a sibling that has already gone to college, a parent who has gone to college, resources at the school, whether it be the specialists at the schools, counselors at the schools, teachers that are willing to lend you a hand. These are all great resources that students should take advantage of and sit down with them when they can and go through the process to make sure that there are no surprises later.
Very good, very good. Now, sometimes Latino families struggle with the issue of sending their children to college because of the cost. What is available to them in order to help them, pay for the children's education?
Most families and students are surprised to hear that there are as many resources as there are. Oftentimes they shy away from a college education, as you said, because they don't have the money. Well, I don't have the money, therefore I either need to work to be able to save money to go to college, or it may just not be a reality for me because my family does not have the means. When we tell students that there are hundreds of scholarships and that there are hundreds of resources, oftentimes they don't believe, they think it's an exaggeration. There is in fact financial aid. There are monies that are available that are federal monies. There's state money. And so I usually put it into two categories. You have financial aid for students who can demonstrate a financial need. And then you have merit scholarships, which are students who have been academically successful. And these are all, very competitive. But nonetheless, those are the two kinds of resources. It is important for financial aid that a student is familiar with the process, that it is familiar with the deadlines, which is critical. If there's one thing that I think is important for families is to know that there is a deadline for every one of these steps. And missing that deadline is missing the boat, essentially. For financial aid, we recommend that students get very familiar with the forms, and parents will hear the term FAFSA, which is the entity that provides these funding in this application. Students need to be familiar with the application itself, and then come January 1st of the year of their senior year, in other words, halfway through their senior year, students are asked to apply to through the application for financial aid and provide information that the application will ask about assets, about income, and these kinds of things. So they possibly will need a parent next to them to answer these questions and submit that information. Again, it's recommended that the information is sent electronically for the same reasons as for the application. The electronic application will alert you if you have not completed a question, or if you've made a mistake, if numbers don't add up, which if it's done in the paper form, it can delay the process. So there are advantages to the electronic copy. Once the information is sent over, students and parents should keep copies of all the information that is submitted, and then wait for responses from the federal government. One of the myths, and I like to always identify those myths that are keeping students from benefiting from these opportunities, and it's, well, I have to wait until my parents fill out our income tax return to be able to fill out the application. What the application is asking for is for income from the year before, and families can estimate what the family income was. When the return comes, if it is different enough, significant enough to where an adjustment is required or necessary, students can always do that. So January 1st is the deadline to keep in mind when it comes to financial aid. The second aspect of resources is scholarships. And within the world of scholarships, you have many different types. You have those that are solely merit-based, and then you have those that are a combination of merit and also financial need. For many of these, your students are going to have to look for these scholarships. They're going to have to look for this information and apply. There are many that require an application. Nowadays, there are often applications for many, many scholarships, so you only fill out one application, and that entitles you to be considered for a number of scholarships. And then there are others that you have a single application for one single scholarship, and that's okay too. At the end, you want to accumulate as many resources, as many scholarships as possible in order to pay for your college education. There are scholarships for everything, almost anything that you can think of. You have scholarships, as I mentioned earlier, that are going to look very specifically at the GPA of the student. You have scholarships that are going to look at leadership skills. You have scholarships that are going to focus on volunteer activities, community work. And so there are a lot of possibilities. I always tell students, if you think the shoe fits, go ahead and apply for the scholarship. Chances are you may be the closest thing, the closest student that comes to meeting all of those requirements. So apply, apply, apply. Some of the scholarships will require an essay, and you write a couple of essays and you send them out. You don't have to write one essay for every single scholarship that you apply for. If you have two or three essays that are very good, you submit those. But the deadlines are critical, and opportunities. Always look for those opportunities. That's important.
Wonderful. What a great piece of advice. Now, you mentioned FAFSA, which is one particular type of financial support, isn't it?
Correct.
But you also mentioned a number of different financial opportunities and scholarships. Where do the parents go specifically to ask for that information, to ask for those applications?
There are a number of places. I always think other students who have been through the process before, their family members that have also already gone through college, obviously using some of the resources that they may have encountered, going to the school counselors, asking other students around you what scholarships have they applied for. The counselors are an amazing resource. They have information that includes, for students in Florida, information about Bright Futures, information about other scholarships that are for students in the state of Florida, other opportunities. There are many searches online. If students type in the word scholarship and are sitting with a parent going through this information, the information they're going to get back is overwhelming. There are lists and lists of scholarship websites that will come up. In the case of Latino students, if they type in scholarship for Latino students, they're going to get an enormous number of scholarship opportunities. I also like to look at organizations. If you're familiar with, or if you simply look up organizations, Latino organizations in the country, you will find that many of these organizations are sponsoring scholarships, providing opportunities for Latinos to go to college. So there's a lot of, either word of mouth, asking folks in the school, asking family members, place of employment. If a parent is working, there are times when companies will have scholarships for the children of the individuals who work at these companies. Organizations, professional organizations, students who are interested in pre-med, pre-dentistry, pre-law, looking up professional organizations that are going to provide opportunities for students in those fields. So I would start with all of those.
Very good. Anything else that you would like to add to parents to maximize their chances to help their children to access college?
I think that the three essential pieces are these: opportunities, familiarizing yourself with the opportunities that are available, learning the steps. If you don't know the steps, you're going to miss out on some of those critical steps in the process. And the third one is deadlines, deadlines, deadlines. You need to be very aware of each of the deadlines for each of the steps in this process.
Thank you very much. I think
my pleasure.
Thank you. You got it. We know the specifics, requirements to access college, and also where to go in terms of finding scholarship and financial aid. Appreciate it.